Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Simon from Carnation to talk about Where Death Lies, out September 18th on Season of Mist. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Starting off, I want to ask you, how do you feel the band has evolved from the first record to this second record?
I think we put in a lot of work between the two records. I'm really satisfied with the progress that we've made compared to the first one. I'm still very happy with the first record, but there were certain things that we wanted to improve or that we wanted to work on specifically for the second one. A couple of things were like we wanted to add more solos and lead guitars, and Jonathan has been practicing so much the last 2 years, and I think it's clearly noticeable on this record that there's more lead stuff, more melodic stuff, more lead guitars, and it's really, he did a terrific job practicing and creating those ideas. Same goes for the vocals and the drum patterns. We really wanted to improve on those things and to work out more interesting things to listen to. And yeah, that was what our goal was for the second record.
How do you guys put an album like this together? Do you start working on songs and you start accumulating material, and then when you're ready, you hit the studio? Or you wait until you get to the studio to have more of an organic way of constructing an album?
So for this album, first all 9 songs were written instrumentally. Jonathan writes most of the riffs, and then we take those riffs to the rehearsal room. That's where we build the structure and like the tempo of the song. He already has like an idea of what he would like for drums and stuff, but we really discuss it with the band, and then the song really starts to take shape. And then when all 9 songs were written instrumentally, that's when I started working on the lyrics. All the lyrics were like written in the same, I would say, 2 months, and so that way it was pretty easy for me to like connect the themes of the songs because they were in the same period. Mm-hmm. And after that, the lyrics were in, then we started recording the album, like, I don't know, like 3 weeks after that or something. So, yeah.
It's a very smooth process for you guys.
Yeah, mostly because we also have our own recording facility or studio. So we can pretty much work, yeah. Whenever we like to record, we can just hit it.
You can create your own timetable. You're not depending on other people necessarily.
Yeah, most often we just really like to take our time for like recording sessions, because we all had like previous bands in the past, and it was often kind of annoying that you had like a timetable for your recordings. You had like 5 days for guitars, 3 days for bass, 2 days for vocals and stuff, and you really had to like get it done in that time. But now we have like our own facility, and our bass player Jarna, he's very knowledgeable with audio recording, so we have the people that can do it, and we also have the material. So if we want to take 3 weeks for guitars, we just take 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks, if it's not good, then we take another week or something. We just put enough time into it, and until we are satisfied with what we've got. The only difference for the second album was that the drums was the only thing that we didn't do ourselves this time from the recording part. We went to Poland to record these because we wanted to really work with the guys from the Herd Studio. Those 2 brothers there, they are really knowledgeable about drum recordings, and it felt like a good idea to get them on the project and also like learn from how they work. So that's the only difference for this album.
I felt the overall album structure was very linear, very concise, very cohesive. The album doesn't have like dips. The way it starts heavy, it starts powerful, and it stays heavy and powerful all the way through from the first to the last song. Was that something that you guys wanted out of this record? You wanted some consistency in the sound and the approach and the structure?
We always think a lot about the song order, and it's I would say for this one, we at the end we were like maybe mixing up 2 songs or 3 songs in the middle of the album that we were not quite sure of in which order. But the first 3 and the last 3 were chosen pretty early on, that we wanted them to be in that order, because it felt like it would be the logical order for the album like the natural flow of the album would feel right. We were only doubting like I think number 5, 6, and like 4, I guess, in which order we wanted to put those. And eventually this the order that they're in right now felt like the best flow for us. And yeah, that's why we decided to go for it.
It really enhances the overall sound of the album. It's something really important. I feel like it's really important for an album like this.
Yeah,
you really want
I agree.
you want to get engaged with the first song, but at the same time you don't want to lose the listener at any point in time. You want to keep that intensity high, and I felt like you guys were able to achieve that with the track list that you guys picked. It was perfect. I wouldn't really move any other song around.
Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you. Specifically for the what we had in mind was the last 2 songs. They're maybe a little bit more experimental compared to the first half of the album, and that's why we put them at the end. They're still very heavy and they're very punishing, but we add like keyboards in number 8, then we do some clean vocals in number 9, and we wanted to put them more like at the back end of the album. But except for that, there was not really another order that we had in mind. It was just those 2 songs we wanted to put at the back more for the more experimental listeners, fans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt that the back end of the record definitely had a little bit more of a different sound. A song like Carnation, for example, I felt that track, it's my favorite track on the album.
Oh, cool, thanks.
I felt that song offer something different, and I want to talk more about that later, but I felt that by then the soundscape of the record is already established, so you can change a little bit of what you're doing. It doesn't take anything away from how the album overall sounds and how you feel about it, because you've already been punished through the previous tracks up until that point.
Yeah, I get your point of view. I agree. Yeah.
How does the structure and the balance of the structure impact, in your opinion, then how the sound on the tracks are concerned? Because you have to keep some of the same elements alive. You have to keep some of the same things together in order for the album to have that cohesiveness across all tracks. Is that something that you wanted from the beginning, to have the same elements, just perhaps tweak them a little bit, and like you said, keep the more experimental stuff to the end?
Yeah, so compared to the first, this is something that we thought about when we were deciding the order. Compared to the first one, the first album really starts off quite slow and it builds up like over time. The Whisper is a very slow song with a long intro, and that's something that we really didn't want this time. We really wanted to start off fast and hard with Iron Discipline, and that's why we chose that one first. And from that point, we started thinking like, what would the logical order be for the songs on the album? And we felt like Sepulchre and the title track Where It Lies had like more of a very catchy vibe to it at certain moments. Like the melody in those songs is very recognizable, so it felt like a logical choice to also put them more at the front. And then for like the experimental tracks, we felt like you said, that at the end of the album, people are already recognizing what the sound is. They're familiar with what's going on, but we can then start to add like some different kind of things that they maybe not expect, or that are a surprise to the listener. So yeah, you pretty much get the idea that we had, I think. Yeah.
The sound on the record is really interesting. Sometimes you get albums where you could totally hear the definition between the drums, the bass, and the guitars. It's almost like everything was recorded on a different lane, and everything stayed in that lane. On this album, I didn't feel that at all. I felt like you guys did a wonderful job blending the drums, the bass, the guitars. You can hear them, but at the same time, they all come together as one big wave of sound. And it doesn't take away from the quality of each of the elements. It just makes the overall sound of the record a little bit more strong and more robust. So even if the song is not heavy from the traditional sense of a heavy track, because of the way the volume is and how all the elements are coming together, it seems a lot heavier. So did you guys work and how did you work in order to create a sound that is that robust, but you can still hear the difference between all the different elements?
The original goal definitely for like the drums in this case was to have like a very organic sound, and that's why I also went to Poland, because we felt like those guys would really would be able to help us get what we wanted, like the very organic sound, to have like very real drums that you can hear. And those organic drums, those real drums, really gave room to like push the guitars as hard as possible and really combine that sound, like you said. So Jarne, our bass player who did the mixing, he really thought about that beforehand on how he would like to like mix those, or well, weave those tracks into each other. And he's the professional in that department, but we trust him, and I think he did what we wanted to achieve, and he did it quite well. Yeah.
I think you used the perfect word, actually, weaved, because the sound is very weaved together. Like I said, you could feel the difference. You could hear the guitars, you could hear the bass, you could hear the drums, but the way it's weaved together, it almost feels like there's a new instrument. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, like the sound is like becoming one new instrument. It's creating this new sound. I thought that was the main takeaway from the record, is the overall sound quality and how you guys were able to mix all of these elements together to create it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah.
I want to ask you about your vocals. I thought the vocals were great on the album. How do you approach the vocals on a record like this?
So for this one, first off, I start with the lyrics, of course, and I start thinking like, I like to write stories, like fictional stuff. I'm not really the guy who writes like political lyrics or like real world kind of stuff. It's not really my thing. I like to write like fictional stories, and I like to like get into like a certain character in those stories, and that's what creates easier for me to like use the certain type of vocal that I'm using on this type of songs. And specifically for this album, I wanted to try also a very few like different things, some extra vocal styles here and there to like create some, well, unsurprising effects or some diversity on the album, I would say. And the goal was definitely not to overdo it, because you don't want to like get your fans into something that they're not really looking for, but you also don't want to like overdo the main vocal for the whole album. So it was like a very thin line that we had to walk to try and combine all of these different things that we wanted to try, because they of course know that I'm going to do the harsh one, because that's what we are, that's our identity. But you also want to like maybe surprise the listener from time to time.
Yeah.
So
some clean vocals here and there, some screaming vocals.
But it's quite tricky, because you can, it's quite easy to overdo it. So we really thought about that pretty hard in the recording studio. Like, should we do this? Should maybe not here, but maybe there, and stuff like that. And I mean, because we have a lot of time and because we have our own studio, it's quite easy to like do more takes or try different things. And we definitely added some parts here and there in the studio that were not written beforehand, because it just felt like a logical thing to add it at that part in the song, or to try it with a different vocal sound. So yeah.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I felt listening to the album that fine line that you try to walk, you were able to do it, because it wasn't overdone. It was just like enough. It added some flavor. Do you know what I mean? It was like adding salt to a meal. You don't want to put too much salt, because then it spoils the meal. But you need some salt, otherwise the meal is not going to taste good. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I felt you guys did that. Was there a specific song that vocally created a little bit of a bigger challenge than what you thought going in?
Well, definitely the last one, because at the end I tried some really clean stuff there, and it was really challenging. We were not intending to do it like all the way. Well, we spoke about it like maybe we should try this idea, but it was like a very vague thing. It was not like set in stone that we were going to add like a clean part there. But then in the studio it was like, yeah, I have some lyrics that might work here. We can try it. It was not easy, but we managed to create something there, and yeah, that we went with it. So yeah.
And you're happy with it?
I'm quite happy with it. Yeah, definitely. It was challenging. It was yeah.
I have to ask you about two songs for different reasons. So I want to start off with Malformed Regrowth. Okay. That song comes at you fast and heavy. It's like a sledgehammer to the ears. How do you see that song, and how did the creation of that song came about?
It's when you look back at our previous material, we have like different kinds of songs, or that's how we view it. We have like the very fast songs on our first album, like Hatred Unleashed, but we have also more like the mid-tempo songs, like for say Disciples of Blood or something. And I think our fans also know that we have like the different tempo kind of songs, or we like to switch it up halfway during a song. And Malformed Regrowth was definitely always intended to be like a super fast one, a super trashy one that really is unrelenting from start to finish. And yeah, that's how we wrote it. We definitely started the idea for that song as we really need a punishing track that just goes really hard all the time, and that's how we
Takes no prisoners.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah.
but you sometimes need something like that. You need it's almost like a jolt of energy when you're listening to an album. You need something that, while doesn't change the soundscape of the record, it does give you that jolt of energy. Like, whoa, let's just like they just went all the way to 11 on this one.
Yeah, and we brought out like a single, I think 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago. I'm sure Necromancer. That's a single that we released, and it's like a very short song. It's kind of has like maybe similar elements to this one, and we wanted to show the fans on this album also that we still love to create those kind of shorter songs that are really fast and relentless. So it felt like a good idea to like create one for this album and to put it somewhere in the middle or something to show that we still love this kind of fast stuff. Right. Yeah.
The other song that I have to ask you about is Reincarnation. Like I told you already, it's my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
I really have to ask you this because listening to the album, I felt that this one is perhaps the song that feels the most, at least to me, it felt musically felt the most different from everything else. Almost up until that point, you feel like you're listening to an old school death metal album that has a lot of new school elements into it. You get into this song, and this almost feels more like a melodic death metal song through and through, from top to bottom. The way musically is put together, the vocals on the track, and that kind of caught me off guard because I was like, wow, this is something I would expect, I don't know, out of Insomnium, but I was not expecting it in the middle of, like, not in the middle because it's towards the end, but I was not expecting it in this record considering what you guys had offered me up until that point.
Yeah.
So it caught me off guard, but it caught me off guard in such a way that became my favorite song.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Because it's so different. Do you see this song being almost more of a melodic death metal track, more than just your pure traditional death metal track?
There's definitely a lot of melody in the song. Maybe melodic death, yeah. I can see that, yeah. It was actually instrumentally, I think it was actually the first song that we wrote for this one. I think it was the first song that we actually finished. Oh, well, not totally finished, but where the main structure was completed. I think this was the first song. That's quite surprising that that's the outlier, I would say, on the album, or the more different kind of sounding song. There's a long intro, of course, a long keyboard intro with a lot of effects, and I think for a long time we wanted to try something like that, but we were not quite sure how we should do it. And the orchestral part came quite late into the recording process that we added it. But without the orchestral part, it felt like something was missing for the song. It felt like the intro was like it was not complete. And then Jarne, our bass player, he worked out something and he said like maybe this could work. And we liked the idea, and then he started working further into it. He started creating like an orchestra or like a symphonic part here, and we really felt like it was perfect for the guitar and the drums that we already had during the intro, and that's how we actually like completed the intro for that song. And it all suddenly made sense. Without the intro, the song seemed like it was missing something, but without it felt like this was exactly how it was meant to be made. So yeah, we're pretty happy with the song, but for a long time during the writing process, we were still doubting, and like there was a moment that we were not even sure if we should have put it on the album. And then yeah, definitely. But right now we're very happy that we did, because we already hear a lot of people saying the same thing like you did, that it's a very pleasant surprise to have on the album. And yeah, I definitely think
I was actually surprised that you guys didn't release it as a single, because I was like, it's because it's very catchy at the same time. You know what I mean? Like The chorus is very hooky, has great melody. The symphonic elements work really well, because I really felt that if you just add them at the intro and then there's no continuation from them, then the intro gets lost. And it's like, why did you even bother to put them in the intro if you're not going to use them throughout the rest of the song, right? So I felt like you guys did such a great job with that track, and it was a little bit outside the box, that it sometimes the fans need something that, that's different, that it kind of, gets them interested. Oh, I wonder what the rest of the album is going to sound like. So I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't included. But you have so many good songs to choose from.
Yeah, it's always quite tricky to think about the singles, really. Also, you have like label who have also an idea of what would be the best singles, and we don't often agree. Actually, this time it was we actually pretty much chose the singles without the label input, but the first time I think there was mixed input, so I don't know why we didn't go for Reincarnation. It just, I think the very long intro scared us off. I think we wanted singles that were quite
to the point.
Well, I think we wanted to catch the attention of the listener quite early on into the song, because it's like a single, and maybe people who don't know you need to get like some quick attention or something. I don't know. So I think the long intro and Reincarnation maybe scared us off to use it as like a single. But I can get your point, because it's halfway through the song, it's obviously quite catchy, the verse and the chorus and stuff. So it would have probably worked, but yeah.
Next time, forget about the label. Just send me an email and I'll tell you exactly what to do.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
I have one more question for you, and that is, in general now, the date is approaching. September 18th is around the corner. The album is going to be out on Season of Mist, Where Death Lies. What are your expectations for this record?
I'm quite happy to finally release it. I hope fans will notice that we definitely didn't write the same album as the first one. We just want people to notice that we're still doing Carnation, but we wanted to try some extra things here and there, just to keep it interesting for the fans, but also for us. And that we also really just improved over these 2 years that we've been touring and practicing so much. And I just hope the fans really like what we've created. And most of all, I hope we can start performing the tracks live at some point, because definitely most of the tracks in the album will really work well live, in my opinion. And at least that's what I think, we're quite a strong live band. And I think we can do a lot of cool things with these songs live, maybe like good connection moments with the crowd and stuff. So it will be a shame if we have to wait so much longer to play them live because of the current situation. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Well, I hope things clear up and you guys get to perform them live soon. But in the meantime, everybody should go pick up this new album from Carnation, Where Death Lies. This is a great year for death metal, and you guys are making it even greater.
Thank you.
Even greater with this album. I really have it ranked really high as one of my favorite death metal albums of the year so far. That tells you how much I really love this record. And I listen to a lot of death metal.
Big praise. Thank you.
Take care, man. Thank you very much for taking the time. All the best. Best of luck with the release once again on September 18th on Season of Mist, Carnation, Where Death Lies. Go pick it up. And I'm going to say this again, one of the best death metal albums that you'll pick up this year. So go get it. Support these guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Cheers.